My name is Acacia Inman, and I am 38 years old. Last Thanksgiving, I carried a sweet potato pie into my parents' boathouse in Essex, Connecticut, stepped half a foot the wrong way. And my sister slapped me in front of 80 guests. My mother told me to apologize or get out. My father crossed the room, opened the door, and held it for me until I was through it. I set the pie down. I said Happy Thanksgiving. And I walked into the cold. What none of them knew that night is that every board under their feet belonged to me, the deed, the mortgage, the insurance. All of it had carried my name for 12 years. By 8 the next morning, I was at my kitchen table with a pen, taking my name back one form at a time. It took 15 days. What it cost me is the part nobody in my family says out loud before I tell you what happened next. Please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing where you're listening from now. Let me take you back to 12 years ago, when a woman I trusted told me something I didn't understand until last November. The boathouse smells like fried onions and fresh paint every November. My grandmother Vesta was the one who taught me. That smell meant home. Long before it meant anything else, she used to stand at that same stove with flour on her forearms, telling me that the one who reads the paperwork is the one who keeps the family standing when the wind changes. I didn't understand her then. I thought she just liked forms. I remember the winter my father's boatyard business folded, the notice taped to the door. The date circled in red. Vesta had passed the year before and left me $68,000, more money than I'd ever held at once. I sat with a loan officer in Middletown, my hands sweating on the cold vinyl chair, and I signed for a mortgage that saved the property from auction. My mother stood in that kitchen with a dish towel over her shoulder and said, "It's only on paper, honey, 2 years. Just until your father's back on his feet." Everyone clapped. My sister hugged me and cried. I felt necessary, and being needed went down sweeter than being thanked, so I let it stay that way. Year after year, without ever asking why nobody brought it up again, 2 years became 12. I kept paying, kept quiet, kept showing up with pies and paint and patched roof shingles. And nobody in that boathouse ever asked whose name was on the deed. One evening, fixing a hinge under the deck, I overheard my mother on the phone with my sister, planning the venue's expansion. She used the word asset for the building. I'd bled for asset, like it had never smelled like Vesta's kitchen at all. That's the word they use for everything that used to be love. I said nothing. I tightened the hinge. I went home, and I filed the conversation away the way I file everything, quietly, completely, without a single visible reaction. The invisible ones notice more than anyone gives them credit for. And I decided that night to finally use that invisibility. Vesta had left something else behind. Something I only found while sorting old files after the slap. A sealed envelope taped inside a folder marked property, dated the same week she died. Inside was a short letter in her handwriting, telling me exactly where to find the deed, the loan documents, and the name of her old attorney, a woman named Odette Marsh, who had apparently been holding a file with my name on it for over a decade. Waiting, I called Odette the Friday after Thanksgiving. She remembered me instantly. She told me Vesta had structured the original loan so that no one could ever be added to the title without my signature. Notarized, in person, nobody had ever done that. Because nobody had ever asked me. That same week, I pulled the venue's insurance certificate off their own booking page, named insured Acacia V. Inman, a name I had never signed to any renewal in 5 years. I sat back in my chair at the office, staring at a signature that wasn't mine. On a policy worth everything my family had built, I texted Odette 2 words, "I'm ready." And that night, I watched my family go to sleep certain they had already won an argument that had ended before it began. Odette laid it out simply, in plain language I could follow: revoke the old power of attorney, notify the town clerk, the insurer, the lender, all on the same morning, all in writing, all certified. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just paper moving faster than anyone expected. My mother tried once more, calling with a voice gone warm and careful. telling me my sister had 18 months of deposits already spent. That my niece June was in 5th grade with a best friend 2 houses over, that somebody in this family has to carry the paper. I said I'll think about it. And I gave nothing else away that night. I sat alone on the boathouse steps, under the carved sign Vesta had made years before, and I let myself cry, not from weakness, but from finally understanding what she meant. The one who reads the paperwork is the one who keeps the family standing when the wind changes. She hadn't meant paperwork at all, she'd meant courage. I wish this were different. I wish my mother had been the kind of parent who protected instead of calculated. I wish my sister had asked instead of accused. But wishes don't hold up, the deed does. At 11:50, that night, I sat alone at my kitchen table. Laptop open, the house silent around me. Odette joined the call, calm and steady as always, walking me through the final signature line by line I signed at 12:03, I am 38. And for the first time in 12 years, I am the only name on my own life across town, in a warm house full of sleeping people. My family was still certain the January renewal would sail through under my old signature. They'd find out otherwise in about 9 hours. The call came just after breakfast, curt from the insurance office. Apologetic. Explaining the new application had been rejected because the named insured no longer matched any authorization on file. My mother's face went pale across the kitchen. My sister's phone started ringing with vendors asking about deposits tied to a venue that suddenly had no active policy. She pulled me aside near the door. The same door my father had once held open for me, and asked what I had done. I told her calmly that I had simply put my name back on my own life. She looked at me like I was still the woman they thought I was. I wasn't. I hadn't been for 15 days. Vesta used to say the one who reads the paperwork is the one who keeps the family standing when the wind changes. I always thought she meant forms and signatures. She meant knowing your own worth long before anyone else does. My sister eventually restructured the venue under her own name. Built slower, built honestly. My parents and I are still finding our way back to something like trust. Odette still calls every few months, more friend now than attorney. As for me, I still have the boathouse steps, worn smooth under my hands, and the carved sign above them. I think about Vesta every time I climb those stairs, and I think some inheritances aren't money at all. They're the courage to finally use your own name. If you've ever had to stay silent to protect yourself even when every part of you wanted to speak up, tell me in the comments. I read everyone, and if this story moved you, subscribe to Broken Dad Revenge. There are more to come.